Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success.
Our father right there, Malik. It's my daughter Nora right there. Those are two pet deer, Zach and Steve. Cousin Wilden, one of our friends named Shifa. Can't forget about the birds, you know what I'm saying? We got the cardinal up top. I think that's a robin. Right now you standing in front, we standing in front of our mural. So it's a blessing to be present. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the greatest artists of all time. I'm grateful to be on earth with this brother right here. And I'm grateful to be, we come from the same loins, you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing,
So tell me how this mural came together.
Our father in particular is from Harvey. We spent high school years at Thornton Township High School, where we graduated from. Right now, our grandma lives here. So this is home for us. The mural really came about from us doing a mural on a Harvey Boxing Club in collaboration with Be Powerful. And we actually donated a mural to the city of Harvey. It got a lot of recognition. And we worked with 4 other artists and the organization in which we painted the mural on their building, which is Restoration Ministries, they got a grant to fund another mural project. So we ended up being the ones, prepared to take on the project. They were going to restore the mural that we painted last, and it was only right for us to, kind of be the porters or the protectors of this wall, to paint it and everything.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. We have Malachi Wright and their mother, Marguerite. Okay. All right. So we are so glad to have them on our podcast. A lot of adults are like, if you want to go into art, they're like, you can't make a living out of that. You can't really do that. You got to do something real. And we have a working artist, a professional artist. And I think, that's something really important to feature on our podcast, because the whole podcast is about the next generation, getting them on track for learning, helping them to stay on track for success, and navigating all the ups and downs that kids might go through. And myself as a mother, I was very biased about what my daughter did as a living. And, that sets them back sometimes. So I want all types of careers and professionals on the podcast. So one of the first things we talk about, because it's a Falling for Learning podcast, and we'll start with you, Malachi, like what made you fall in love with learning as a kid and as you're growing up?
I think the 2 people sitting next to me and the man behind me, my brother over here, is really what made me fall in love with learning, because I've seen them be not only advocates for it, but, doing it themselves, and I've seen the benefits that they gain from, just seeking knowledge, and I think that's something our father definitely heavily pushed, just to pursue knowledge, to read and to study for yourself and not just listen to what somebody tells you, but to, actually study and gain knowledge for yourself so you could, one, teach someone as well, because we all should be able to, not only learn, but we need to be able to, pass that knowledge on. And I think that's truly important. And I'm grateful for, the family that I came from that really made that a priority, starting with, God, and understanding who he is, and his importance. And I think once you got that understanding, a lot of more comes with it.
Cool. Okay. So what about you, Amoz? What is that thing that helped you to fall in love with learning?
I guess to, land me back on what Mally said, we're really picking up the puzzle pieces that our parents, our older brothers and sisters and grandparents and aunties and uncles, just the elders and the generation that came before us, they left some pieces to the puzzle for us to put together. And we really looking to not only learn more about God, learn more about the kingdom of God, but to also help others, become interested in learning more about, the kingdom of God. I spent the past 3 years teaching in the public school system, and I've been learning more about, the power of literacy and how much power just comes from being able to read, write, and be able to do some calculations. And in early Egypt, the scribes were considered to be the most literate, and because of that, they was right next to the Pharaoh. They did a lot of contracts. They wrote out a lot of poems, and they did hieroglyphs, and they did a lot of business that the common man wasn't able to do. So in today's generation, role of the scribe over time was actually translated over to Israel, and now it's our opportunity to educate those that come from where we come from, that you got a lot of power when you're able to just read, write, and do arithmetics, and having that power, that's what comes from learning to me.
And Miss Marguerite.
Yes.
So how did you, intentionally or unintentionally influence your children to love learning? And
Well, I think I come from a family. As we talk about our family, I think about my father and my grandfather. They were part of the Great Migration, came from Arkansas to Detroit. I moved from Detroit to Chicago, but of course, with all the sacrifices they made so that we can have a better life. And education was big in my family. I mean, it was no doubt about it. You going to college, you got to get an education, you got to read. It was just something that it was a lifestyle. And then it's been passed down, I pass it on down to my children.
wonderful. How did you start becoming an artist? Are you older? Who's older?
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest. Okay. Tell me what your path was, as a kid when you're doing art and yeah.
I think, like I mentioned before, really, Maz and my mom have been my biggest influences, inspiration when it comes to just wanting to be an artist. They are the first two artists that I knew, growing up, seeing my mom's artwork around the house, seeing her actually create, and then actually being able to sit down with Maz, side by side and just draw together. It helped me develop that passion for art, what I'm saying? And not only just what it looks like, but, just how it made me feel, it's something that I truly wanted to get better at and something I just enjoyed doing. And, as I, started to show my art to my family and my friends, they were able to appreciate the work I created as much as myself. And that meant a lot to me, what I'm saying? To have people, really love the work that I create just as much as I love it. It's like, man, that's a blessing, truly. And I think that drives me to, create even more, to want to make people happy with the work that I created. Cause I seen that it was something that, brought smiles to people's faces. So, I can remember, going to school and, showing people my artwork, just them passing my drawing book around the classroom, and just people really taking their time to sit with it. Like it'd probably be like an hour before the drawing book came back to me, just from me passing it throughout the class. And I'm like, man, at those moments, just really showed me like the artist is healing, what I'm saying? Cause, sometimes you could be in school, kids ready to go home, but it's like, it's something for people to look forward to, something that bring us together. And I think the community aspect of artists is not only something that I appreciate, but something I try to show within the work that I create, showing the unity and the power of us coming as one, what I'm saying, the peace that comes with us truly, working for the same purpose.
Okay. And same for you. What's your journey as you were growing into an artist as a kid?
Again, I could definitely reflect in a very similar manner as Mally, early on, first seeing mom's illustrations around the house and just seeing, the work that she did as an artist. It always captivated me. I never really could understand how she did it, but I knew it was possible, you know what I'm saying? And, as I got older and, Mally was, born, and even my brother Ira Moshe, we were all, just spend time in the house, not only drawing, like we would do a lot of artwork, but we would do so much creativity, like making songs and making videos and dance battles, and even playing video games became creative for us. Our father, he introduced a lot of creativity in our lives too, with basketball and carpentry and things like that, and tennis, a lot of different piano lessons. There was so many different angles of creativity that we was experiencing growing up. I think having that angle and then us being a family, being able to create together and enjoy the creative process, it kept us together as a family. We never really wanted to be too far apart from one another. And even, if we became distant physically, it's like we always found a way to stay tight, through the creative process and through, just that came from like looking at God as the creator and knowing that God is the creator. Pops will always even tell me, hey, we paint paintings and we could put artwork on a canvas. So God, he can do the same thing with us, like he painted us. And I believe that just having that influence and that coming togetherness growing up, man, it feels like it's still happening, Like I feel like I'm still growing up, and I'm growing up with the people I grew up with, Malachi, moms, and everybody else that we've been growing up with. It's happening.
Yeah. So, Ms. Marguerite, so, they're working artists.
Yes.
As were you able to ever work as an artist? And did you try, or how was that for you?
Well, I always tell my sons it's the best time in the world to be an artist, because, you got Instagram, you got the internet to expose you. I've been drawing ever since I could remember as a little girl. I grew up around seamstress. My dad could create things and build things.
And so it just came naturally to me, and that's what I think I passed on to them. But I did go to college at Western Michigan University and got a degree in graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the 80s, and it was very rare to see a Black woman graphic designer. So it was a challenge for me to break into the field, trying to get into the right companies and everything that would let me really use my skills. And I look at them, they not trying to break into nobody's company. They got their own company. And that's what I love to see. So I'm very glad to be a part of it. And I can't describe how it warms my heart seeing my sons do what they do.
Wonderful.
The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today.
I did see some interviews on you where you were like making money as a kid. Like, how did it go about like you selling your portrait? Can you tell us like how that was going?
Yeah,
like how
so
you started that?
really, I want Amoz to kind of start because he's the one who influenced me to start selling my work. I seen him selling it, yeah.
And I was selling mom's work initially. So she was like, I showed a lot of her drawings to like my peers, and
He was in third grade.
yeah, they just was loving it. You know what I'm saying? So they loved it so much, I would come back and give her different requests. And then after a while, she realized like, hey, where are all these requests coming from? And I told her I was selling her work to my classmates. And then at that point, she's like, yeah, you need to start drawing your own drawings. So I was actually intimidated to, start drawing my own drawings. But since mom said I should start doing it, it just felt like the obedient thing to do. Gotta be obedient, man. Gotta honor her, and we jumped right into it, and I started drawing, the stuff that I would ask her to draw, I started drawing, and we even got crafty with it. She had a printer and copy machine in the house, and we would copy and scan all the artwork and didn't even know it. We were selling prints, you know what I'm saying, writing receipts, the whole nine. And Malachi, even though I started like in the 4th grade, he started younger than me.
Yeah, I started, once mom started selling his work, and really when I started like 4th, 5th grade, when I really got into it, started selling my work to my classmates. I would start selling me and Amoz's work. Like I would take requests from my classmates and either I'd give it to Amoz to draw and to give him the money. You know what I'm saying? I'll just do it and draw it myself. So that's really when the business started. I seen my classmates, not even only my classmates, my teachers, they would battle work as well, and I think that was encouraging to say, okay, like this, sometimes the teacher would tell you that you shouldn't be selling in class, but they was the one inquiring, so that meant a lot to me. So I'm like, okay, got to middle school, was doing the same thing. Once I got to middle school is really when I kind of branched out from my immediate community, really made an Instagram. And so I started doing commissions for people I didn't know. Next thing you know, it's bigger brands, bigger people, and it just continued to grow,
Yeah, so tell us about that. I like Martin Lawrence or something was the first like celebrity.
Definitely one of the early ones. Really Young Thug. I did a picture of Black Chucky. I was in eighth grade. Yeah, I did a picture of a Black Chucky and I posted on Instagram. Young Thug seen it and wanted to make it a single cover. So he ended up commissioning me for that piece that I already created. You know what I'm saying? To make it a single cover.
He said, can I talk to your parents?
Yeah, I was talking to his manager, communicating through her. And he was one of the first ones when I got to high school, which was really right after that. I created a picture with a whole bunch of rappers as Dragon Ball Z characters. And from there, like a whole bunch of different rappers was actually like interacting with me, reaching out to me, just through that moment. World Star reposted it. A lot of Young Thug even reposted that again, and really from there in high school, Steve Harvey reached out to me, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, like you mentioned before. Just a lot of different people. Snoop Dogg, and that's how I really, started to develop a relationship with him, which
got
became
on the Steve Harvey show.
Came from me putting my work out there on social media and not really just being afraid of what people would say, but really just looking forward to putting it out there so more people could see it. You never know who's going to appreciate it.
That's true.
I
Yes.
know a lot of people say to me, it's so great that you and your husband allow them to do what they want to do and let them be what they want to be. But I guess a lot of families say, no, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, or force that on them. But we never thought any different, because we all enjoy being creative. So I want my children to do what they enjoy.
So one thing I know, Malachi, is you graduated from UCLA, and what made you decide to you're already doing it, already making money. So what made you take the path of going to school for it? Because you could have possibly just continued.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's a lot was Amoz, for one, seeing him go, my sister, seeing them go off to college and seeing them, what it looked like them, they enjoyed their experiences there. So it's like, I wanted to have that experience for myself, my parents, both of them, being able to hear their college stories, and it's all seemed like times that they met amazing people, had amazing experiences. So it's like, I felt like it was important for me to, seek that experience myself. When it comes to wanting to go to UCLA in particular, I think that came from me actually, being on the Steve Harvey show. That was my first time in LA, in general. And it was like a spur of the moment, just everything happened. They reached out to me the day of, flew me out that night, me and my mom. So it was like, it felt like a dream, and I'm like, man, I feel like if more moments like this happen, I want to already be here, So I think that really had me set, okay, I think I got to come to LA for college. So I was already a junior at that point. So, college was heavy on my mind, think about where I wanted to go. I applied to UCLA, USC. Those like my two schools I was debating between. And also my dad, he, came from Harvey to California. He went to school in Fresno. So I'm like, I wanted, to kind of do what he did, and go to California. And, go across the world for real. Just see what's out there for me, see what happens, what comes out of it. And, I think I know I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot and I'm continuing to grow, still being there, a lot has happened, since me moving and this time now. And I think it's just all shaped me to be a more, caring individual in terms of not of myself, and I'm still in school, I'm getting my master's right now at Cal State Long Beach in my second year. So, I've just learned the importance of, just going and doing it, not always thinking too hard about it, but still taking the time to consider, the righteous way and the righteous decision, and essentially making sure that God is rooted in your decision. You know what I'm saying? And I know if that's the case, you can never make the wrong decision. Right.
Okay. And so, Amaz, the same for you. What made you decide, you're the older brother, to go to school? Because you guys are already making money, already doing the art. So what made you decide to go to school?
Man, you know what? That felt like a long journey for me, starting my freshman year in high school. I remember coming to like a freshman day at Thornton. And, my pops was telling me, hey, if you want to go to college, you got to get a scholarship, because I won't be able to pay for your education. He told me that he got a scholarship to play, basketball at various colleges that he went to. He never really had to pay any money at all because he had a scholarship, And he said that I would have to do the same thing if I wanted to sustain myself in college. So starting there, I worked hard to get a scholarship. I ran cross country in high school for about 3 years, really, just trying to find my way into, getting some scholarship money for college. I was thinking maybe I get a cross country scholarship, and I didn't even like running cross country. But I ended up actually getting like a revelation after seeing a cross country meet at Notre Dame. I said, that's not what I want to do. So I actually retired from running cross country. It didn't do it my senior year really. And I was running track. I stopped doing that as well. And I ended up getting, funding to go to college. My crazy auntie and uncle, Bill and Melinda Gates, I love them. They watch this. I love y'all, but let's talk. They actually paid my way. They paid for my college education. I got the Bill and Melinda Gates scholarship, which was a huge blessing. UNCF, the United Negro Fund, was a huge component to actually funding my college education. And because of that, I was able to study at DePaul, University. I studied at the ACU. That's the Australian Catholic University in Melbourne, Australia. I did a study abroad there. And just being in that world, I didn't even know if I was going to go to college if it wasn't paid for. But since I was able to get the funding, I decided to go.
Wonderful. Okay. So we know your current project is this mural for Harvey. Can you tell us about the mural? What's the plan? What's the inspiration for it and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, the the mural project started, I know Amoz could kind of speak to this mural that we see across on the Restoration Ministries boxing building, which kind of filled this mural.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely came from, a collaboration with Leroyce Hawkins, who had a vision of, putting murals across the entire city of Harvey. We started by donating a mural to Restoration Ministries. I had the, opportunity to lead that project. Restoration Ministries, they had received a grant from Cook County to do a creative placemaking project to put a mural in Harvey, and they were actually going to restore paint over the mural that we did in 2020 on the Restoration Ministries Boxing Club building, and we felt it'd be only right for us to do the job, so we advocated for ourselves and reached out about the job, and, ended up working out for us to actually be the ones to paint this mural. It's been a fight. The actual design of the artwork, it's really inspired by, I would say, a collective vision on, our upbringing in Harvey, you know what I'm saying? And Malachi and myself, we end up designing it together, like every last, and moms too. Yeah. All three of us, we all work together to design this mural, like from every stroke. You can see in there, we all had some say on it, and it's been a lot of energy and emotion stored into this project, So yeah, what else can y'all share about?
I think essentially, for me, one word that I think that sticks out for me, what I want this mural to represent is just hope for Harvey, and just not losing faith, with Harvey's potential. Right. I think it's easy to criticize Harvey, to complain about it, you know what I'm saying? Its current state. But for me being someone, born and raised in Harvey, I love being from here, you know what I'm saying? I love my upbringing. I love my friends. I love everything about being here, you know what I'm saying? The good and the bad. And I'm grateful that this is where I came from, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have wanted it any other way from the beginning to the end, and I think I still believe in, Harvey's potential, what it can become, you know what I'm saying? The resources that can be planted here to help the youth in Harvey and even the older people in Harvey. We just all need guidance sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And just more understanding on just a positive outlook on not just Harvey, but the entire world itself. And I think through art is a way that we could provide, you know what I'm saying, that positivity, you know what I'm saying, a sense of peace and hope and, therapy. The title of this piece, I think, is going to be The Wall of Therapy, Harvey. So I just hope this is a place, one place that people in Harvey and not anyone that comes down the street could feel, some sense of, like I said before, healing from. Yeah.
I mean, I think they pretty much covered. We all feel that it's a privilege to use your art as an expression that can touch the world, touch Harvey in a positive, because you do hear all the negativity, but this is something I feel so positive. Hopefully it brightens people's day. They might be feeling bad. Look at the murals, feeling better.
Man, for real.
Mm-hmm.
I saw on Instagram you had kids helping you.
Yeah.
So tell us about how that came about and what their role was in the project.
So really, of course, we have our youth in our family, our nieces, nephews, daughters. But of course, starting with those, those youth, we had them out here helping us paint this wall, as well as the Harvey youth that really have been out here every day, just walking up and down the street. Of course, they're asking, complimenting it for one and asking, can they paint? And we saying, yeah, because we know what that means to just be able to put a paintbrush to this wall. We could easily say, nah, we doing this, we the artists. But nah, we want to bring the youth in. That's really what this is all about. We want this to be a community experience, So we want the people of Harvey to not just be able to look at it, oh, them artists did a good job, be able to look at it and say, oh, we did a good job. We all, had a hand in this, we felt part of this, especially the youth, because we know how much that could mean to really see. I didn't have the chance to paint a mural as a child. Art resources that I had was in our house, pen and paper. We really didn't have too much resource to paint in general, so I think to be able to have this experience to paint as a child, even as an adult, it means so much to me. So I can only imagine what it can mean to someone who's just, a young child and walking down the street and being able to be a part of that.
Okay.
I guess I could, build on that, just even reading, and I got this book open right now, the King James Bible, in Luke 18, Jesus said, "Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child shall in no wise enter therein." And I believe that, us having so much faith in God and in his kingdom that if we feeling that kingdom energy just pull into the wall, you know what I'm saying? And it's revealing a lot, you know. We've seen so much and learned so much just putting this art on the wall. I'm sure, you know, at the appropriate time, we could do like a documentary on this whole experience, you know. So, yeah.
Okay. So what's next for you, Amoz? What other projects are you going to have going on after this?
That's a great question. One, I do want to just continue to build and collaborate with Malachi and Moms. You know, this is a never-ending run for us, you know, with murals, movies, music. You know, we want to do it all. I'm currently working on a graphic novel right now, you know, titled Yuri's Passport. And I hope that the graphic novel can help me, you know, build towards developing a film universe, a film studio, you know, through Golden Street, through our family organization. And I also want to do a show titled Ultrasound, you know, that eventually we plan and hope for it to turn into a museum that honors the sacredness and of the health of the mother and child. You know, I was able to, you know, see the birth of my daughter, Nora, and I have two daughters, you know, and to just take on the experience of fatherhood and parenthood. You know, it's a shared experience that's something that we can all meet at, just life and the idea of life and its sacredness and preciousness, you know. So we working on like a museum for real that honors that. That's some of my upcoming projects.
How about you, Miss Marguerite?
My sons, they all have such big, you know, ideas and dreams, and I'm like, woo. But ever since I was a little girl, I've loved children's books. And actually, I just want to continue to be an illustrator. I've illustrated about 8 children's books, and I just want to continue that. And I love doing portraits, and I learned a lot from them. They showed me how to be a digital artist. And I'm also into holistic health, and I have a spa. So I'm learning how to pull it all together into one. Cause like they say, it's healing. It's therapy when you do art. So I feel like it's been therapy for me too.
Okay, and how about you, Malachi?
I think what I'm most passionate about right now is really collaborating more with my family, you know what I'm saying, in terms of this creating art together. You know, I feel like this project alone has shown me so much potential in what we could do when we come together, as well as things that we've done in the past. But I think a lot of it's come full circle with this project. You know, I feel like we've kind of brought everything we do into one, you know, and I think I want to do more of that. Like I mentioned, I'm in school right now receiving my master's, and I do want to teach at the collegiate level, post-graduation, you know, and I just continue to pursue my own creative practice and be able to sell my work, you know, have my own gallery shows and be a part of other gallery shows and continue to grow in that, right, and increase the value of my work and continue to tell my story through my artwork and continue to heal, you know, continue to bring up the youth, you know, in a positive way. You know, I do have a goals to eventually open up some resources to the youth, creative resources to provide therapy sessions and art workshops to the youth through art and even a children's show, which is something I've been working on for the past few years now, which, you know, hopefully sooner than later I'm able to just get form of that, you know, that show out to the world. I have started to introduce the character Lil Mal to my first art show that I had last year. He's also going to be featured in this mural. He's not there yet, but we do have a place for him. So looking forward to just bringing that character to the world more and just showing him being the symbol of hope, you know, for the voiceless, you know what I'm saying? Showing that we all have a voice in him. Sometimes we feel like we can't vocalize it. You know, I haven't always felt like I've had the voice to vocalize it, but, you know, maybe people have seen it in me, but sometimes I always felt my strongest voice was the art that I created. That's what I always felt most confident in, and I want to be able to show other people that, you know, even if you don't have this voice developed yet, we have other voices that we can use, and it just encourages people to always use their voice.
Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.
So you're saying these are pet deer? You really have pet deer, or you're just being
It'd be nice, you know. As an artist, you gotta have some sort of imagination. So I guess as I work on the murals, like a relationship is kind of being developed with each.
Okay.
part of the mural. Like, okay, yeah, you see my pet deer.
I got it.
I might take somebody here one day, like, hey, you want to meet my pet deer? Show them the mural, you know.